Speaking of negotiating with the Taliban, in your recent or your latest Substack, you write about the oil barons who invited members of the Taliban to Texas to negotiate. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I think that there is a lot missing from the corporate media coverage of our relationship with the Taliban. In fact, we showed a video of Hillary Clinton from years ago where she had admitted that the United States had armed the Taliban to essentially fight the Soviets, which were occupying their country, and now we're turning around and fighting them. That video did really, really well because I think most people in America don't get that content. So can you talk about that negotiation process with oil barons in Texas with Taliban members?
Very easy, and again, most Americans don't know this because it was not covered by our media, and it was only through my and my archive team's research that we found it in the BBC, not an obscure news source. It was right there. Any American network could have picked it up. In 1997, George W. Bush and his buddies at Unical is one of our big energy companies, invited the Taliban leadership to come to Texas and meet with these oil company and gas company executives to work out a deal because Unical wanted to build a pipeline across Afghanistan to get to I believe the Caspian Sea, and so they were invited to come and negotiate this deal to try to work this out. Now, this is really just it's 4 years before 9/11. It's 3 years before Bush is elected president, and he's got the Taliban in Texas. We're not the history. They've tried to just sweep this history under the rug. And then in the Substack of mine today, my essay, I embed in the essay a 7-minute segment I did on my show at the time, The Awful Truth, where I went to visit the Taliban leadership. Their UN consulate in New York City was in Queens, not over on First Avenue by the UN. They were in Queens in a strip mall next to a nail salon and endoscopy clinic, and I asked if I could come and talk to them, and they said yes. And I went in and had a meeting with them, and I have the video there on my site. But there's so many things that look. I love this country, but we are a nation of slow learners, and I don't mean the kind of slow learning in school that many people have to go through. I'm talking about our inability to know what's going on in the world, to know that there is a world outside of our world, to our ignorance has been one of our worst enemies. And the reason for that on many levels is that ignorance leads to fear, and fear leads to hate, and hate leads to violence. And that is the equation. Whether it ends up in the death of George Floyd, whether it's the next war we're on our way to, those in charge can take us and make us do these things and believe that the other is out to get us, the other is the enemy because of our ignorance, and then we become afraid. We have to get rid of our ignorance. We have to educate ourselves. We have to watch shows like this. We have to read books. And if we do that, then we have a better chance of not falling for the trap, because George W. Bush, 20 years ago, this week, had a 70% approval rating. And when he started the invasion of Afghanistan, had a 70% approval of the war. And only one of the 535 members of Congress voted against that war, Representative Barbara Lee. That's it. So
in fact, Michael, one last question here. You also wrote in that piece, a really good piece, about Bin Laden. You said he simply sought to bankrupt us financially, politically, spiritually, and to kill more of us and get us to wipe out our American dream. And here we are, 20 years later, and it appears that your conclusion, which I share, is that in a lot of ways he succeeded. He just got us to basically do it to ourselves. Help folks understand what you mean by that.
Well, in some ways you have to think, was this guy some sort of a mad genius that not only did he know that the towers would fall, being an architectural civil engineer, as were 8 of the hijackers, civil engineering degrees. But how did he know that we would then, on our own, not because he made us, there was no gun to our head, we would pass a Patriot Act to get rid of our constitutional rights? How did he know that over 20 years we would install a security camera on nearly every other corner in America to spy on ourselves, to spy on each other? How would he know? How did he know we would do that? How did he know we'd stay for 20 years and bankrupt ourselves? $300 million a day is what we spent during these 20 years. What could we have done to better ourselves, to be a better people, a better country? $300 million a day, that's, I don't know, how many days is that in 20 years, 365 a year? Sorry, I went to Catholic school. Well, not sorry, because now I just did the math. I think it's probably close to 75,000 days. 300 million a day? Come on, what the hell? What would we have done? Wouldn't it be great if we could just do a lottery, all these school districts, all these townships, these cities, you're gonna get it, if you get picked, you get $300 million, do with it what you want. How much better would we be? How much better would childcare be? How much better would our healthcare system be? So many things. And we did this to ourselves. We destroyed ourselves, and we allowed madness to enter the White House in 2017, and then that encouraged the almost civil war that we're now having to experience with fighting each other. Yeah. That the enemy now is each other. How sad that we're, and so I wrote today that in this strange and sad way, Bin Laden won, but he couldn't have done it without us. He couldn't have done it without our help. And we did it to each other. We did it to our economy. We evicted how many millions after 2008? All this stuff that is so shameful. How did he know that we would actually start doing this to ourselves? And of course, he probably didn't know, but he did have our number. And he knew that we are frightened people, and we are sadly ignorant. Half of us still aren't vaccinated. So I'm saddened by this. And I think that the lessons of 9/11 still haven't been learned. And so we have our work cut out for us.
Absolutely.
But I have a strong belief that eventually we will come to our senses. It just may be too late when it comes to our environment and other things, but I hope not. I really hope not.
Well, your documentary, Fahrenheit 9/11, is a must-watch documentary. You go into all of these issues, the Bush administration, and you're doing a free screening for people. So everyone check that out on Friday, September 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern time over at michaelmoore.com. And Michael, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, it's great. It's great to talk to you guys. It's great what you do. And thank you for telling people to join us Friday night for this free screening online. It's we're gonna have a Q&A afterwards, so it's all free. Please join us, and hopefully we can prevent the next war. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Michael. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.